Welcome into the Ohio State Football Report. I am Tom Downey. On today's show, we're taking a look at the quarterback battle, which will set to ramp up here with spring practice almost around the corner. Or I guess it is around the corner, but almost here. We'll talk Ryan Day's rank among the top college football head coaches and some Brian Hartline conversation as well. Before we get into today's show, the Michigan Channel host James Yoder bet that we couldn't get 450 likes on today's show. Let's prove him wrong again. He keeps trying to double and triple down. At some point, that bill's going to come due there, James. Like the video for me on today's show. New quarterbacks coach Billy Fessler has recently commented on the quarterback battle, the situation as the Buckeyes look to replace Will Howard and face some changes coming to the organization, or to the team, I should say, at that spot. There's three players who have at least hopes and dreams of being the starting QB for Ohio State in 25. Lincoln Kienholz is first up here. This is what Billy Fessler had to say on the more experienced version. Let's start with Lincoln. He has definitely stepped up from a leadership perspective. You can see the way he attacks workouts. It's so much more than picking up a football and throwing it. I've seen that growth from Lincoln. That's really exciting. He was the number one recruit coming out of the state of North Dakota. I have not looked, but I feel like top 200 is insanely high for a South Dakota recruit, just given the history and football talent that typically comes out of that particular state. He was a 4-star recruit in 2023, just inside the top 200, and was the number 15th ranked quarterback per the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. I think in general, Fessler starting with the vet makes sense. I also don't know how many OSU fans, and if you're out there, you can just type me, by the way, want him to be the starter. I kind of get the vibe of let's go with the 5-star guy. Fair or not, Lincoln does not have the 5-star juice behind his name, the higher expectations that the other two quarterbacks have in this conversation. We'll get to them here in just a second. And we'll begin with Julian Sayin, who, if there were betting odds out there, I'm sure there are somewhere, who the starting QB is week 1, I would assume it's Julian Sayin. Here's what Fessler said on the second-year QB. As for Julian, last year going into the year, he was competing to be the backup. Ended up not winning the job. He could have turned it down, been bummed out, not attacked it the right way, but I saw him continue to grow throughout the year. I saw him learn from Will. He can get to a point this year where he can step up and be more of a vocal leader. That's something I've seen growth in him as well. He's put on some weight. He looks good. He's attacked his time in the winter, and that's been awesome. There's been plenty of updates, and I've seen Will Howard mention it too. A couple different times now it's been mentioned that Sayin's added weight, which is good. He was kind of skinny coming out of high school out of California. But this is a 5-star recruit in the class of 2024. He wasn't originally an Ohio State commit. He originally committed to Alabama, and then Nick Saban leaves, and the Buckeyes swoop in and frankly stole him from the Crimson Tide. Will Howard at the NFL Combine, which we were at, had a lot of praise for Julian Sayin. Other players did, of that, thinking he's the next man up at that spot. This is the ideal starting quarterback for me, is that Julian Sayin earns the role. He does have to earn it, by the way. It is not set in stone. He's the job. He gets the job no matter what. It's not like I made the comment linking to that 5-star hype behind him, but he's still a top 200 recruit. And then there's also the wild card of Tavien St. Clair, who we'll come to here in just a second. But do you believe Julian Sayin is a lock? You think he'll end up winning that quarterback battle? Why for yes and for no? It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Then there's Tavien St. Clair. This is the wild card, so to speak. I picture Charlie from Always Sunny kicking out the back door of his van, screaming wild card and jumping out because he cut the brakes. Here's what Fessler said. And then Tavien comes in. And Tavien should still be in high school. Instead, he's in my office all the time learning the offense. When he's not with me, he's with Coach Mick. And when he's not with Coach Mick, he's over there doing academics at Sasso. By the way, that is that's the Student Athlete Support Services office. So he's doing football and school is what he's knocking off right now. His days are pretty jam-packed. That's new for him. But his commitment to wanting to be great and wanting to be at a level where he can go out and compete in the spring has been really impressive. So there's plenty of reason to be excited about Tavien St. Clair. He is an even higher rated recruit relative to his own class than Julian Sayin is. But he also is, in the end, the wild card option of he's a true freshman. He's an early enrollee. He's also very young. So I believe the expectations should be lower, at least in year one for Tavien St. Clair. I don't think it's fair necessarily to presume he's going to surprise everyone and earn that true freshman starting job. I think even in an ideal world, like the 3-year system, right? Sayin redshirts year one, plays 2 great years of college football, and then gets to go off to the NFL. St. Clair is a redshirt, basically. Takes over the backup job, then earns the starting role. That timing can work out pretty well for Ohio State. This is what head coach Ryan Day, by the way, I didn't mean to rhyme it, I'm sorry, had to say about the quarterback battle. They're young. They're going to have to compete. We need a quarterback to be tough, to be a leader. Long way to go on it. Don't have any evaluation to go with now, but it's going to be a big spring for those guys in a battle that very well might not be determined until the fall, frankly. Now, the good news is the Buckeyes have some leeway because they're coming off a national championship. Get your Ohio State National Championship gear today. Chatsports.com/OSU Champs. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/OSU Champs. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, and everything else in between. Go get yours today. Now, Bruce Feldman of The Athletic dropped his top 25 college football coach rankings, and probably shouldn't really be that much of a surprise, but Ryan Day moves up several spots. Kirby Smart was number 1 last year. He's number 1 again. Ryan Day jumps from number 5 to number 2. Who was 3 on his list in 2024? I don't remember who his number 3 was, but he's off the list. Dabo Swinney drops from 2 to 3. Steve Sarkisian jumps up significantly to number 4. Kalen DeBoer slides down 1 spot. Ryan Day being in the top 3, top 2, I don't really think is a huge surprise. He just won a national championship. You know, for all the discourse of firing him or not, he won the Natty. He is one of 3 active coaches with a national championship right now. It's him, Dabo, and Kirby Smart. So, of course, those guys are all in the top 3. You know, there isn't an obvious number 1 the same way there used to be with Nick Saban. I think you can argue to an extent for any of those guys in the top 3. Although I kind of feel like Dabo at this point, that the Stars kind of lost its luster a little bit. They should be good this season. So with plenty of time to kind of reflect on the Natty and everything else there, rank Ryan Day among college football head coaches for me. Is he 1? Is he 2 or 3? Are you a little bit lower on him? Get those votes in for me in the comments section of today's show. Now, Gerry DiNardo, who does some work for Big Ten Network, had some, I think, somewhat interesting comments on Brian Hartline. I think some people took it as a shot. I didn't take it as a shot, but you can leave, to each their own there. Basically says he thinks that, Hartline will need some input from Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen, unlike was the case for Chip Kelly, where he had a lot more creative control on the offensive side, which, duh? Is that actually a surprise for any of us? Here's what Gerry said. The way it's usually talked about is play calling an art or a science? I'd say the play sheet being developed through the week is science, and the calling of the play sheet is art. Ohio State's situation is fascinating. Clearly, it was an art with Chip Kelly, with collaboration with Ryan Day. Brian Hartline is not Chip Kelly, but Ryan will be on the headset, meaning that Ryan Day is going to have maybe more input and advice than he had with Chip Kelly. It's obviously going to be different with Brian Hartline in the fold as the new play caller. It has to be. And Ryan Day should be helping Brian Hartline. That's one of the reasons why you're more comfortable with a first-time play caller at OC, because you have your O-line coach has done it. Not that great, but he did it. And your head coach has done it. I do expect some ups and downs early on as some of the more art elements kind of get learned from Hartline, and he kind of gets more of his experience going there. I have no issues hiring Brian Hartline as your OC. I think it was time. It was time to see if he can do that. At some point, I think he wants to be a head coach. For him, this was the next step, and I certainly didn't want to lose him out to anything other than a head coaching job. So I am, curious how this plays out, but in terms of him being the actual play-calling co-OC, we'll see. Now, we are 174 subs away from 10K subscribers. You want more free OSU football videos? Hit that sub button for me right now.